Welcome back to Football Now as we look ahead to this weekend's Premier League fixtures, giving you the previews, our own predictions, and Connor will be running you through the betting odds as well for the 10 games this weekend. I'm joined by Connor, like I said. First of all, how are you doing, Connor? I think you're in Germany.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag, there you go. He's learning over there for the darts. Catch out all the content over there at Darts Now as well. I'm sure if you're been on the channel before, you'll be familiar now with the competition we've got ongoing Football Now. Before I introduce before we get into the games, as you can see there, you win a football shirt of your own choice. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment in the comment section of this video, the videos we've done before, in all of the videos we will be doing until we hit 100 subscribers. I think we're around the 70-odd mark now, so we're getting closer. Win a football shirt of your own choice, as you say. The more involved you get, the more likely you are to win. You can follow us on Twitter as well at footballnow_1 as well. That's where the announcement will be made. So get on top of everything there, and good luck to everyone who does get involved. Like I said, we'll be giving our own predictions as well for the games this weekend, as we have done in the last however many weeks now. We've got a head-to-head prediction going on between me and Connor. I don't think he had the best weekend last weekend. I pulled away.
Disaster.
Yeah, so he's going to look to claw that gap back this weekend, see how he gets on. Let us know how you get on as well. Compare your predictions to ours, and we're getting to the first game. As you can see, Crystal Palace versus Tottenham on Friday. It's an early weekend, 8 o'clock at Selhurst Park. Connor, before we get into the actual game, do you want to talk us through the odds?
Yeah, I'll talk you through the odds. I'm going to back a light on first. Can't see nothing.
Yeah, but
oh, I do have a lamp on my desk, but it's German lamp. I don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
So, as you'd expect, hate to see it, but Tottenham favourites, obviously, because they are top of the league. And not only are they top of the league and they're getting the results, but they're playing such good football at the minute as well that I actually think 17-20 is really, really good value. I know Selhurst Park is a difficult place to go to. Crystal Palace, I don't think they've done the best recently. Last time out, they got hammered by Newcastle 4-0. Saying that, to be fair, Newcastle are giving out a few hidings. They gave PSG a hiding not long ago as well. And then they got a point before that against Nottingham Forest at Selhurst Park, but it was a lucky point because Nottingham Forest had some really good chances and Palace didn't offer too much. Whereas Tottenham Hotspur, it's just same old, win at the moment. The only time they've dropped points this season was against Arsenal at the Emirates, and Arsenal obviously doing well, sitting in third place there. So, yeah, it's very difficult to justify anything but a Tottenham win. And I think when you're getting nearly evens on that, I know it's Friday night under the lights, away from home, but I do think that's good value. I think there is something that I've seen where Tottenham fans aren't too thrilled because they played on Monday night against Fulham and now they're playing Friday night. But, that's not an issue, is it? Because, they're not playing European football. So, you've got other teams playing Wednesday, Saturday, Thursday, Sunday, whatever it is. So, they can't complain about that. And I don't think that will affect them too much. Heung-min Son is been in great form this season. Scored a great goal last time out. He's continuing that form. James Maddison as well. He got his first goal in front of the home fans for his new club. So it's very hard to see how Crystal Palace can put a stop to this Tottenham run.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the injuries. I think Eze, Dean Henderson and James Tompkins still ruled out for Palace. There are question marks over Elise, Schlupp and Ferguson as well. For Tottenham, I think Udogie and Sarr as well. It's touch and go whether they will feature. Obviously, Udogie in particular and Sarr have been brilliant this year so far. For them, you've mentioned there the games Monday to Friday. They've not exactly got far to go either. Are they? Crystal Palace also in London, South London. So, like you said, I think they'd have more of a case if they had a very congested fixture lineup. But like you said, they're not in Europe. I think that can be a real string to their bow as well this season. They're not going to have that Thursday, Sunday routine. Yeah, and we've spoke about Tottenham. I think in the last 4, 5, 6 weeks now about how well they've been doing. I think Ange Postecoglou touched on it in the week, didn't he? About a big key behind that is the work rate of the players, not only those who are starting, but those who are on the bench. Aren't playing as many games as they'd like. I think he name dropped a few: Ben Davies, Emerson Royale, etc. Skip. And about the attitude, and you can feel that kind of just looking in from the outside. There does seem to be a different atmosphere around that club right now. It's obviously to be expected when it's going well, but I think we've already spoken at length about how good of a job he's been doing I think you mentioned Palace as well, losing last time out to Newcastle heavy. I think, especially at St James's Park. I think that'll happen to a few sides this season. To be fair, like you say, we saw what we did to them, did to PSG. Sorry, at that ground a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, it's
Basuma coming back as well, Tottenham, which they didn't really miss him last time out, but he's been a great player for them this season. Obviously, he got suspended against Luton for a second yellow card for diving, but he's going to be brought back in now, and you would expect him to go straight back into that team because he has been fantastic this season. Crystal Palace there, we see in 11th place. They're not going to get in trouble, but they're not. That's probably around where Crystal Palace could have finished this season. So yeah, there's not really anything to be worried about. Whereas this time last season they were getting a bit worried. Obviously, started with Vieira, didn't they?
Yeah.
And it was just loss after loss. So yeah, I don't think Crystal Palace fans are going to be too worried.
No, I think they're going to be that mid-table cluster, like you said, who aren't really threatening the top six, but at the same time are in no danger of going down, like you said. I think there's much more else we can say. I think you mentioned the form of the likes of Maddison and Son, etc., for Tottenham this season, and both on the score sheet last time out at home to Fulham on Monday night. With all this in mind, Connor, do you want to give your prediction for this game?
No, I'll let you go first. I feel like sometimes I take some of your results, which to be fair has worked out for you. So we're going to flip it. I think you should give yours this week. First.
Right, okay, I'm going to go. It's away, isn't it? I'm going to go 3-1 Tottenham away win. It's a score which has done well for me this season. Yeah, I'll go.
By the way, I'm putting our predictions in. I ain't messaging nobody.
Right, I've gone 3-1 Tottenham. What are you saying?
Well, yeah, I do think Tottenham will win, and not only that, but I do think that's really, really good value. This whole playing Monday, playing Friday thing isn't going to affect them. I can't see them blowing out their ass this early in the season. So I'm going to go with the Tottenham win, and I'm going to go with 2-0. 2-0. Clean sheet away from home. Be a really good result for them.
Yeah, they won't be blowing out their asses just yet. Onto the Saturday games. 12:30 kickoff. Staying in London at Stamford Bridge as Chelsea host Brentford. Little West London derby there. Both having strange seasons, kind of, I guess. I think Brentford are looking to really kickstart their season again, find some form to pull away from those bottom 4 or 5 teams. Chelsea again up and down, like I think we said will be for a while, as they try to find their feet under Pochettino, who still I don't think is totally sure on his best 11. Do you want to talk us through the odds, Connor, first of all?
Yeah, I mean Chelsea at the Bridge are going to go off favourites there, 13-20. But I've kept this line all season. You just can't back Chelsea at any price at the moment, really, because they're just so unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to get. Last game against Arsenal at the Bridge was such a strange game. I mean, it was probably their best performance of the season and Arsenal's worst performance of the season, and Arsenal managed to snatch a point. Sitting in 10th place, which is, to be honest, more of the same from last season. It's pretty much where they were last season. Starting to come into a better form. You can see the form there at the bottom. They've won the last 2 and drawn 1. The draw was against Arsenal as well. But yeah, it's really hard to make what it was last game, because I think it was a fortunate penalty because, and we've spoken about it before, but, when you're a defender, you're jumping for a header. That's natural position, but, whatever. And then Mudryk scored with a cross that was really, really bad cross. So, yeah, it was a decent performance, but they really should have got 3 points there. And Brentford have just been, they've been really poor this season. And I think with the previous seasons, Thomas Frank has set the bar high. And they've obviously they are missing Tony, but it's not been the same this season. But they did get back to winning ways last time out. It was a 3-0 victory against Burnley. Some 3 really good goals as well. Great finishes. So yeah, this is a really, really difficult game to call. Now, in terms of where do you place your 50p, 5-1 is decent value there for Brentford. I mean, we've seen teams come to Stamford Bridge and get the 3 points. Aston Villa did it. We saw Nottingham Forest do it as well. So there's no reason why Brentford can't do it, because Brentford are a better team than what their league table, suggests. Bit more confidence now after the international break, back with 3 goals and a victory. So, and they lost 2-1 before that to Manchester United, but it was a really good performance. It was 2 injury time goals. So yeah, I probably think it will be a draw, but I think 5-1 is really, really good value. So I'm probably going to put 50p on that because a bit more than 50p, and need to start earning a few euros over here because I've got no spending money. So yeah, I think 5-1 is really, really good because I think Thomas Frank is starting to get that feel good factor back at the GTAC.
Yeah, I think like we said it a couple of weeks ago, Chelsea feel like one of those teams. I know they had a good result on paper last time out against Arsenal, but they almost seem better away from home. Almost, you've mentioned their losses at home to the likes of Villa, Forest, and this is again one of those games, especially being the early kickoff. You look at it and you wouldn't be surprised at all to see Brentford if they did get a result, if they did get something. I think they returned to winning ways last time out at home to Burnley down to 10 men. Winning 3-0. I think the real plus point were the goals for Mbeumo and for Wissa, who both started the season well, but I think in the recent weeks, Brentford have started to look like they have been missing Ivan Toney a little bit more. I think they were unbeaten in their first 4 league games of the season, but there has been a drop off since then. I think that those 3 points out last time out were important. I think if they'd have gone and lost to Burnley or dropped points at home to Burnley, I think the concerns would have really grown. I think we've said we don't expect Brentford to go down. I think I'm sure they'll be fine, but you can easily get dragged into that race, can't you, if you don't start putting the points on the board.
Well, yeah, I mean, we saw it with Leicester, didn't we, last season? They've gone down, which a few people were saying that they were too good to go down. Now, if you look at them in the Championship, they've got 36 points out of possible 39.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Absolutely trouncing.
I'm saying that will happen to Brentford. I do think that they are just going to push on now.
Yeah. And Chelsea, like you said, Chelsea go and win. I think you're surprised by any means. I think if I had to edge one way, I'd maybe just about sway towards Chelsea, but at the same time, I wouldn't be massively surprised if Brentford did get something. I think it's a strange game. I think we've said from the start of the season that I think Chelsea are going to be very up and down this year. It's going to be a season where I think the overall aim is to find their feet into Pochettino and lay the foundations to kick on over the coming years. But yeah, if all that in mind, I'm looking at the injuries. I think Chelsea have still got a fair few amount of players out, completely ruled out. Fofana, obviously long-term. Lavia still not played. Nkunku long-term. Chukwuemeka, Chilwell, Chalobah, Broja, and I think Bettinelli, there's questions over a could return. Brentford got a fair few players out as well. Baptiste, Damsgaard, De Silva, Rico Henry, Shader, and Ivan Toney obviously suspended. They're all ruled out, and there's questions over whether Lewis Potter could return as well with a calf injury. It's an interesting game. You can imagine that the atmosphere would be decent. It's a West London derby. Obviously, just minutes between the two sides down there in London. I'll give my prediction. I think I'm going first now this week. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Chelsea win, a narrow win. I'll back them just to do it. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Brentford did get something. But yeah, I'll nail my flag to the mast and back Chelsea to get a home win at the early kickoff.
Yeah, well, I mean, until I've seen a bit more promising signs from Chelsea, a bit like Manchester United, I can't back them to win. So I'm going to go with the draw. I think it's the safest result. In terms of the value, I think 5-1 is pretty decent for Brentford actually, but I'm going to go down the middle, and I think they'll get a goal apiece. So I'm going to go with 1-1. But yeah, I think you said that if you're going to lean one way, you'd lean Chelsea. I actually think if there is a winner, it could be Brentford. But yeah, 1-1's my prediction.
On to the 3 o'clock kickoffs now. On Saturday, you can see there Bournemouth hosting Burnley. It's a big game, this, I think, down that end of the table. Do you want to talk us through the odds before we get into the match itself?
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth, they're ahead of favourites purely because of the home form, I feel like. But, things really aren't good. Start of the season wasn't too bad. But yeah, the performances, I mean, if you look back at the last 3 results, it was 4-0 at Arsenal. Sorry, 4-0 against Arsenal at home, and then 3-0 away at Everton. And then it was a narrow defeat last time out at home to Wolves. I mean, you see there, Bournemouth in the relegation zone, only picked up 3 points, still not won a game yet this season. Things are worrying now because it's not just the results, the performances I feel like are starting to deteriorate. I mean, I know Wolves only won 2-1, but some of the football that they were playing, some of the football that Bournemouth allowed them to play was really, really good football. And it's really concerning. And I feel like, if they are gonna finish above that dreaded red line, these are the games where you have to be winning. And I don't think draws are going to be enough. When you're at home against the people that you're battling relegation with, you have to be getting 3 points. Burnley haven't had a great season there. They've only won one game. And they've drawn another one. But yeah, this is problematic. Bournemouth got rid of Gary O'Neill, which was, I think, a huge surprise to anyone. And I think when you do something like that, then you have to be getting the results on the board, because there would be so much more pressure on the manager now. There's going to be pressure on the board as well. And obviously that has pressure to the players. Dean Court or Vitality Stadium, whatever you want to call it, such a small stadium that if the fans show any discontent, you're going to really feel that as a player. And I don't think Bournemouth will get the result that they need here. I don't think 6-5 is decent value. I don't think they've shown anything to suggest that they are going to get 3 points here. I think it's going to be a cagey affair. Both teams are going to know the importance of it. So I think both teams are going to be thinking, let's just not lose this. So 11-4, you're getting nearly 3-1 on a draw. And I think that's the most likely outcome for these sides, who really going to be cautious about committing too many men forward. Especially with Burnley last time out as well, shipping 3 goals against Brentford. Both teams are going to be focusing on keeping it tight at the back.
Yeah, I think we're going to give our score predictions in a minute, but it has got draw written all over, hasn't it? I think Bournemouth, they've had I remember a couple of weeks ago, it's an important month coming up for them. And I remember when they travelled to Everton, obviously I'm in Liverpool, they travelled to Everton, I really fancied they could get something from that game. With Everton's home form wasn't great, and they ended up getting beat 3-0. And then, like you said, they lose again at home to Wolves. The Arsenal game, that you can understand, obviously Arsenal at the top of the table, that can happen, but to lose 3 on the bounce, it only takes a couple of bad results and you're right down there. And again, I think both managers will be worried for their jobs in both of these teams, to be honest. I think if this carries on, you don't want to see anyone lose their job. Of course you don't, but I think there are a couple of sides down there right now where I think we could possibly see a managerial change in the run-up to Christmas if this run of form does continue. I'm trying to look at the injury situation. Tyler Adams, Cook, Fredericks and Macondes are all ruled out for Bournemouth. Bayo, Obafemi and Ramsey all ruled out for Burnley, and there's question marks over Akdal, Gudmundsson and Hedlazio. Never heard of that guy, but he could return. There's question marks over those 3. Yeah, butchered that there. I'm sorry if any Burnley fans are listening. Yeah, it's a crucial game for both, and I think we're both going to back the draw. But if one side can, manage to grab the 3 points, it could be a huge 3 points for them. But like you said, I'm going to give my score prediction first. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I just can't see, like you said, I can't see either side nicking it. If I had to sway towards one, I would back Burnley. But if I'd probably say 1-1 draw would be my prediction.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of if one team will get victory, I sort of agree with you there. I feel like when Burnley can play well, when Burnley can play how Vincent Kompany wants them, it would be a little bit similar to how Wolves played last time out against Bournemouth. I think they're more adept to playing that fluid football that can cause problems in the box. But yeah, I just feel this is going to be such a cagey affair that I don't think either team is going to get on the score sheet. I just feel like you'll get that. This might actually sound quite offensive, but that championship mentality of just this is a dogfight, stick in, battle it out. Just make sure you don't lose this. And if a team can get a victory, it's a massive 6-pointer. Not to sound too cliche, but it is. But I'm going to go with 0-0. I just think both teams are going to be so wary of not losing this one that it's just going to be difficult for the defenses to be broken down.
Yeah. Did you say 0-0? Did you go for?
Yeah, 0-0. Yeah.
I went 1-1. It'll be an interesting game. Like you said, it's a crucial game down the bottom. On to the next 3 o'clock kickoff. Arsenal. Connor, I'm sure you have a lot to say about this one. It's hosting Sheffield United. Yes. Coming off the back of a 2-2 draw away to Chelsea last time out. And Sheffield United 2-1 home defeat to Man United. Before we get into the actual game itself, the odds will be on screen now. Do you want to talk us through those?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely zero value in Arsenal, and obviously you expect Arsenal to win comfortably, but when a team has got those odds next to them, you just can't ever back them. I do remember saying actually very early on in the season that I think Tottenham were like 11-1 to be. Sorry, I think Sheffield were 11-1 away at Spurs to beat them, and I said 11-1 for any Premier League team is pretty decent value. Now they were leading 1-0 up until injury time in that. I'm going to say the same here. You know, I know it's my team, but 24-1 for any Premier League team to win is just incredible. That's where the value is. You know, put a quid on that, you're getting 25 back. So you know it's worth a pound of anyone's money. But Sheffield, you see there, it's just lost. They've lost 5 on the spin now. You've got an 8-0 in those as well. I'm just gonna sort of load up their recent results. I mean, last time they lost to Manchester United at home, which you know it was only 2-1. It was a narrow defeat, and it took a great goal from Diego Dalot to sink them. But you know, there's no point in having decent performances every now and then when you're still not getting the results. I'm surprised Paul Heckingbottom is in the job still. I'm not saying he's the cause of the issues, but normally when your team has sat rock bottom, the performances aren't great and the results aren't coming down. You don't normally get that much time as a manager anymore. From what I've been hearing on the grapevine, I'm hearing that they are looking at bringing Chris Wilder back to try and steer him out of this mess, which that'd be an interesting move if they did that. But yeah, I mean, on paper, this is black and white. This should be a comfortable victory for Arsenal. Arsenal weren't very good against Chelsea last time out. In fact, they were very poor, but it was still able to get a point coming from 2-0 down to rescue that. And they travel to Sevilla, the Champions League midweek, and won 2-1. That's a very good result against a very tough place to go to as well. And yeah, it's I was skeptical whether they would be in a title challenge this season. I thought there might have been a bit of a come down, but you see the table there, sitting in third place, only 2 points off Tottenham in first, level on points with Man City. So so far so good, and they've had some tough games in that spell as well. They beat Manchester City, they faced Manchester United, and they beat those. They went to Stamford Bridge, and they've played Tottenham as well. So it has been a tough run of fixtures for Arsenal. But yeah, I expect Arsenal to win comfortably here. Before last game, we were second on goals scored. I feel like we've not scored too many this season. I think the table said 18 goals. This is where Arsenal will be expecting to get 3 goals as a minimum. It could be 4 or 5. Arsenal will be looking to put a statement down. Jesus, I think, won't be playing. He came off midweek and he doesn't look good, feeling his hamstring. But yeah, in terms of which way I think it will go, Arsenal 4-5-0, but 24-1, it's worth a pound of anyone's money.
There's an interesting situation going on now, isn't there, at Arsenal with a goalkeeper? Obviously, there's talk about that Mudryk goal, like you mentioned earlier in the video at Stamford Bridge. He started, didn't he, again in midweek, Raya, against Sevilla. What's your take on that situation there? Obviously, Aaron Ramsdale sitting on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, it's here to stay, David Raya. I think it really would take a consistent number of clangers for Arteta to drop David Raya. Arteta is someone who, when he makes a decision, he will stick with that no matter how difficult things become. And in a way, you do have to respect that because when Aubameyang was on fire for Arsenal, when there was a disciplinary issue, he made the difficult decision to exclude him from the squad and get rid of him. And it's worked out. So it was a tough thing for him to do, but he did that. I really, really can't see him bringing in Ramsdale. I do feel a bit for Ramsdale because I don't think he did too much wrong, to be honest with you. And I do think he should be playing at least in Europe because it's not like there's a huge gulfing class between the two keepers. I think that they're both number one keepers in their own right. But Arteta's obviously seen something in Raya in terms of the way he can play out from the back. I know he's been looking at Raya for a number of seasons now, so he's a player that he really, really wanted. And yeah, I think obviously this is the first time that he's played at a big club, and there's just more pressure on that. I just think it's going to take time just to get more comfortable with the ball. But also that just more comfortable in goal because he is making errors that he wouldn't normally make. He is a terrific goalkeeper. I really, really can't see Ramsdale being brought back in no matter how David Raya does. And he's not a bad keeper. I'm not watching him thinking he's not out for this level because he is a really good goal. I think when you make really big mistakes, then that to me isn't a sign of a bad goalkeeper. That's just signs of nerves, and he will get over those. And I think it'll work out just fine. But I do think Ramsdale should get at least Europe. But yeah, no, this is a game actually where he's not going to be tested too much in the shot stopping aspect, so he can really show off his playing out from the back here. And I think it should be comfortable. I can't see Sheffield causing too many problems. Though, I mean, how many times have you seen it? Though I remember a few years ago, actually, Sheffield were in a similar situation. I think the season they went down, they could do absolutely nothing right, and then they won at Old Trafford, and then did absolutely nothing after that as well. So you can get those results that are like, wow, nobody saw that coming. But yeah, on paper you can't see any issues for Arsenal, but
yeah,
you never know. You never know in this league. It's the beauty of the Premier League.
Before we move on to the next game, just to look at Sheffield United's possible future. We've mentioned the future of Arsenal's goalkeeping situation. Between now and the start of December, they host Wolves at home in their next game after the Arsenal game, Brighton away. Then they've got Bournemouth at home and Burnley away. I think some massive, massive games in there for Sheffield United. And I think if they still haven't got many points on the board between now and then, it is a bleak future. I think the future's not looking great for them in terms of their Premier League status. I think we're obviously both going to back the home win here. I'm going to go big as well. I think Arsenal are going to I'm going to go 5-0 Arsenal. I think I can see them nicking a few here. I can, really hammering home.
Have a right smile. Yeah, I have to say Arsenal. I mean, I've said Arsenal. I will go 38 games saying Arsenal to win. By the way, yeah, I mean, it's just coming up with the number, isn't it? How many? I think as much as Arsenal should be putting a lot past Sheffield in this fixture, Arsenal haven't been at their best at creating chances with Gabriel Jesus. Although I do think this is a game actually where it does suit Nketiah as a poacher. He's a decent finisher when he's got the ball in the right place. So that being said, I'm going to go with 4-0 Sheffield. Normally, I would say that these aren't the games that are going to define Sheffield United's season, but when you're not picking up points anywhere, maybe it is going to take a result like this. I mean, you mentioned the games in a few weeks' time. They've got Bournemouth and then Burnley, was it? Will Paul Heckingbottom be in charge for that? I don't think he will. So, yeah, they could do with getting some points on the board from anywhere, but I don't think it's going to be this game. I'm going to go 4-0 Arsenal. And I think, to be honest, I think any less than that, I think Arsenal will be a bit disappointed with themselves.
Yeah. Moving on to the final Saturday game, I think it's 5:30. Yeah, Wolves versus Newcastle. I think we've spoken about, I certainly have on this channel, about how much I've enjoyed watching Wolves so far this season. I've got a bit of a soft spot for them against an informed Newcastle side. I know who lost last night at home to Dortmund, but they've hardly put a foot wrong in the league, certainly in the last 4 or 5 weeks. Before we get into the game, Connor, do you want to talk us through the odds as well?
Yeah, I mean, as you'd expect, Newcastle are flying high now in the Premier League. They're putting some really good performances together. They aren't just scraping wins; they're hammering teams now. I mean, last time out, they beat Bournemouth 4-0. They would have been disappointed to lose to Dortmund midweek at home, especially after the Paris Saint-Germain result. But yeah, I mean, they're sitting in sixth place. They're sitting in sixth because they had a period in the middle where I think they lost 3 games in a row or something like that. So. But if you look at the recent form, it's been win, 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 draw and win, and that draw was to West Ham, I think it was, wasn't it? Which was, West Ham have been decent themselves. So, yeah, on paper, you would say that Newcastle would win this. I think they're the highest scorers in the league as well, scored 24 goals. So when they do play well, they can put the ball in the back of the net. They haven't. I don't think they've got Isak. I think he came off, didn't he, against Dortmund yesterday. And then you see Wolves there sitting in 12th. You said I think in the Burnley game now, it only takes a few bad results and you really get dragged down there. Well, in Wolves' case, it takes a few good results and you're up there flying. They've not lost since 5 games ago when they lost to Liverpool. They played well in that game as well. But they've had wins against Manchester United there. They had a point against Aston Villa, who are doing really, really well. You see them there in 5th place. Beat Bournemouth with a big 6-pointer. say 6 points. I don't know. Maybe Wolves will be looking ahead now rather than behind them. So yeah, it's been really, really good. I mean, that Bournemouth game in particular last time out, I mean, some of the football they were playing, I think Pedro Neto missed a really good chance for what would have been one of the goals of the season. And not because of the individual strike, but because it was really sexy tiki-taka Wenger ball. It was just fantastic from Wolves. And Hwang, if I pronounced that right, Hwang.
Yeah.
Pep's a Korean guy. He's been fantastic. He's been fantastic. And I think ever since Raul Jimenez got his head caved in, they've really struggled for goals. And I think we've been concerned for them actually. But they seem to have rectified that now. And Gary O'Neill, he got sacked from Bournemouth and he's coming on Wolves. And he's given the giant V sign to the Bournemouth owners because he's been fantastic. And it took him a little while to get started, which can happen. But I think a couple of the international breaks just to have a bit more time with the squad has worked fantastically. I'm looking at 17-5 there. 17-5, 3-1. I think either one of those are fine because Wolves are going to make it really, really hard for Newcastle. I know Newcastle have been hammering teams, but playing in Europe, they're not used to that. That is something that will catch up to them. And I think the Wolves players and the fans are going to be quite confident into this. So I am looking at 3-1 there as a bit of value because even though I think nearly evens for a team like Newcastle is pretty decent. Like you said, Wolves have been playing well this season. You love watching Wolves. I think everybody loves watching Wolves apart from the opponents at the moment. So yeah, really good time to be a Wolves fan.
Yeah, I remember earlier on when we did our first couple of videos and we were talking about Wolves almost. There's something there. It's just whether they can put the results in front of the net. And in the last couple of weeks, they have done. They've been brilliant. And like you said, they beat Bournemouth last time out away from home. Obviously, it's a difficult game this weekend for Newcastle. I'm just looking at the injuries now. Newcastle have got a couple of players out. Harvey Barnes and Sven Botman are ruled out. Obviously, Tonali now, he looks like he's going to receive that suspension.
Yeah, I think it might be confirmed now for 10 months.
10-month suspension, I think, got confirmed earlier today, didn't it? And Isak, I think, came off
as well.
And there's questions over whether he'll play Isak. Like you said, he came off against Dortmund. I think this could be an entertaining game. To be honest with you, like you said, Wolves, they're at home. You mentioned the form of Neto and Hwang in particular have been incredible from this season. Like we wondered where the goals would come from, but Neto's been creatively, he's been great, and Hwang's coming up with a couple of big goals already. I'm a bit struck on where to go with this one with the predictions, but I think I'm going to edge the Newcastle away, but I'll probably go for a 2-1 Newcastle away win. But I do like I said, I like watching Wolves, and they're at home, 5:30 kickoff. You never know, but I will edge to a 2-1 away win for Newcastle. Connor, what are you going to go for?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Wolves are phased by anyone. I mean, against Manchester City, they beat Man City. After going ahead, they got pegged back and went ahead again. And they played really well against Liverpool as well. So I think the mindset that Wolves have, which I think is the right mindset to have, is when you do come against these teams that are competing for Champions League football. It's like, well, our season isn't going to be defined by these. So let's just have a go. Yeah. Newcastle have shown that they know how to put the ball in the back of the net. I think if Isak is out, Wilson is an excellent person to be brought in. And Wolves clearly know how to put the ball in the back of the net as well and how to get that creative juices flowing. So I think there'll be goals. I think there'll be 4 of them, but split evenly. So I'm going to go with 2-2 for this game. But it should be a really, really good watch. I'm glad it's on TV.
Yeah. On to the Sunday games now. A string of it's a 1 o'clock kickoff, of course, West Ham Everton. Before we get into the 2 o'clock kickoffs from the European football, we've got West Ham Everton. Everton right now, obviously, they've had some bad news this week with the death of Bill Kenwright, and then there's this talk of the potential 12-point deduction. Before we get into the actual substance of the game, do you want to talk us through the odds, Connor?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I think because again, Everton fall into that bracket of just being really up and down this season.
Yeah,
West Ham have had a really good season so far in the Premier League. I wasn't expecting the result last time out against Aston Villa. They lost 4-1 at Villa Park. And Aston Villa have been fantastic this season. I mean, they hammered Brighton 6-1. We know how well Brighton are doing. But yeah, I still thought West Ham might have got something from that. Maybe the international break came at the wrong time for them because prior to that, I think they'd only lost to Manchester City and Liverpool.
Yeah.
We see Everton there, 16th place. I don't know what Everton was expecting this season. I think if you're looking at just staying in the Premier League again, then I think it's been okay. I think the only result that they'll be looking at and really kicking themselves is the result against Luton, because that was sandwiched in between 2 victories as well. So, yeah, that would be really disappointing for them. But Everton, they played well this season. They beat Aston Villa, I think it was, in the Cup. They beat Brentford in an excellent performance. They beat Bournemouth 3-0 as well, and they were really good in that. Against Liverpool at Anfield, I thought that was okay, actually. I mean, they lost 2-0, but they lost Ashley Young quite early on. Ibrahim Konate, he should have got up. Jurgen Klopp held his hands up and even said that. He said that because he won. He wouldn't have said it if he lost, but fair enough. But yeah, I think Everton are in a decent place at the moment. I was surprised, actually, that West Ham got hammered in the manner that they did, but I still think they're having a really good season. They've still got really good players. And even though I think Everton are in an okay place, I think West Ham over evens against a team battling at the bottom at home is really, really good value. So my eyes aren't even looking at the draw or the Everton odds. I'm just focused on that 23-20. I think that is really good value for a team that has started this season quite well.
Yeah. I mentioned that there's this talk, isn't there? There's potential 12-point deduction for Everton now. I think that really does pile the pressure on. Every point really counts on that. I don't know how likely that is to happen. There are the strong rumours of it, aren't there? And so, well, you see, if it's 12 points, look, they're only on 7 now.
So, yeah, if it's 12-point deduction, then it's start playing for a championship. They aren't going to survive by 12 points. Absolutely no way.
Exactly. Won't be good for them. You've mentioned there, obviously, Villa. I think Villa can do that too. They did it to Brighton earlier this season. Villa Park, they battered Everton as well earlier this season. I know it's probably not on the same level as West Ham and Brighton, but Villa Park's just proved to be a very difficult place to go. I don't think that West Ham will be the last side this season to go there and get a bit of a kicking, to be honest. So, what's going on there?
Buildings on fire, don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wonder what was happening. I'm looking at the injury situation with this game. I think it's Dele Alli and Ashley Young obviously suspended. Dele Alli still out for Everton. Questions over whether Andre Gomez and Seamus Coleman can return for the away side. Apparently there's no situation regarding injuries with West Ham. At home, like you said, I'm sure they'll be backing themselves to get back to winning ways. I'm just going to look at the fixtures for the next clubs coming up. West Ham obviously play tonight, don't they? And in just under 2 hours, over 2 hours, away in Greece to Olympiacos. Obviously, then they got Everton. And then a few London derbies against Brentford and West Ham. Brentford and Arsenal, as well, coming up. I think Arsenal games in the Cup. Looking at Everton's situation now, we've mentioned, look, if they do get those points taken off them, look, it doesn't look good. But in terms of what's coming next for them in the league, Brighton at home, Palace away, United at home, Forest away, Newcastle at home, Everton and Chelsea at home. There's some hard games in there for Everton. It's not looking great for them right now. I don't think we can really look anywhere past a home win. I'm going to go for a 3-1 West Ham victory in the first game on Sunday. Connor, which way are you swinging?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much this potential point deduction will weigh on their mind. Just on that, actually, it's quite ironic that this has been going on for a few years, and Burnley a few years ago were really pushing for it to be resolved because it would have helped them. And ironically, Sean Dyche was the manager at the time of that. So, but yeah, all I'm going to say is that if they do get points deducted, then there's another team floating around with 115 FFP breaches. But yeah, like you said, I can't look past a West Ham victory as well. Just think Everton are quite up and down at the moment, but aside from that, West Ham they're doing really well in the league, especially when you look at how they were last season. They really struggled in the Premier League, so yeah, they've done well this season. That is just fantastic value. What did you say? 3-1? Did you say
3-1 West Ham? Yeah.
I'm going to go with a clean sheet for West Ham. It's just how many they could score. Yeah, Yeah, I don't think the international break came at a good time actually for Everton. I thought they were doing reasonably well.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a comfortable victory. I think 3-1. I think they'll bounce back after that Aston Villa defeat. Sorry, 3-0. 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
West Ham.
That's the first Sunday game. On to the 2:00 games now. Obviously, a lot of these sides involved in European football tonight on the Thursday, whether it be the Europa League or the Conference League, hence why they're kicking off at 2:00. You can see Liverpool hosting Nottingham Forest last time out, beating Everton at home. Connor mentioned they got away with one Konate. You can't avoid that, to be honest. As soon as I saw that tackle go in for Konate, I thought, oh, great. That's another red card for us this season. I don't understand how it wasn't off. It's yeah, maybe it's the home thing that people talk about what happened with Tottenham a couple of weeks ago, whether it's going Liverpool's way, who knows. But I think Klopp was right to say that we got away with one there. Forest last time out, a draw at home to Luton. They probably would have been a little bit disappointed with that. I'm sure they've been backing themselves to beat Luton at home. They got a decent home record last season. That's their 4th draw in their last 5 games. The other one being a loss away to Man City. Do you want to talk us through the odds, Connor, before we get into the game in more depth?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Liverpool massive favourites at Anfield. You'd expect that. I think it's a bit of a strange one because Liverpool are up there in the table. They're sitting in what are they, 4th place now, but only 3 points off the top, 1 point behind City and Arsenal. And I still don't think they're at the best this season. I still don't think that they're playing, football like they were when they were challenging both other leagues. But they are still getting the points on the board, which is really important. They lost to Tottenham. Let's not talk about the VAR, but they were unfortunate not to get anything out of that game. So, when you're not playing at your best and you're still getting wins, not just points, but wins on the board, it's a really, really good sign. They've scored 20 goals, and I think it's only the team, a few teams below them actually that have scored more than that. But yeah, things are going really, really well at the moment. So it's hard to look past a Liverpool win. I think with Nottingham Forest, bit of hard team to judge at the moment because there was 0-0 at Selhurst Park and they played really well there. They would have been really disappointed not to get more from that game because they created so many chances. 2-2 at home against Luton, that would have been really disappointing. And not just the 2-2, but they were leading up until the 83rd minute in that game. And then to concede 2 to a Luton side, which are very inexperienced in this league at home, that would have been really, really disappointing. Then before that, again, a draw at home against Brentford, at that point in time, they weren't playing well. So, yeah, I think Steve Cooper, I'm not saying he will be worried because let's be realistic. Nottingham Forest's main goal is to stay up again this season. A point is a point, and those draws here or there do start adding up. But they really would want to start turning those points into victories because I think some of the performances have actually been pretty good this season, maybe not getting the victories that they deserved. All that being said, I don't think Steve Cooper's going to be too worried about this game. Teams don't win at Anfield apart from Liverpool generally. So, no matter how the game goes, it's not going to be a disaster for Nottingham Forest. 3-10, there's never any value in that. Forest will make it difficult, and I think if it's not going to be a win, then I can't see Forest winning. So I'm looking at 11-2 there for a draw. If you're looking at just placing a single or maybe putting them in a double with something else, I'm looking at a draw 11-2. I think it's pretty good because I don't think Liverpool have been scintillating, and I think Nottingham Forest have been the king of draws, haven't they? 4 of the last 5. So I think a draw is pretty decent value, even though the form of the two teams are pretty different at the moment.
Yeah, I certainly don't think it's going to be a game which Liverpool run away with. You've mentioned there Liverpool, the performances haven't been the best. There's 2 ways of looking at that, but like you said, the fact that they're still up there, a couple of points off top is encouraging. I think if they can just try and stay within touching distance of those couple of top sides, get to January and then try and address some of the issues. That number 6 role we've spoken about, they're obviously going to be missing Andy Robertson now for the foreseeable. I think until the new year, Kostas Tsimikas will be coming in at left back, we presume. We'll see how he does. He's not played loads of football at club level in recent years, so it'll be interesting to see how he copes with that. Robertson, obviously, I've mentioned, is injured. Bajcetic and Thiago also ruled out for Liverpool. Danilo, Felipe, and Montiel also ruled out for Forest. And Taiwo Awoniyi, former Liverpool man, and Nuno Tavares, questions over whether they could return. Liverpool, I'm just looking at the next couple of fixtures after this. Obviously, got Toulouse at home tonight as well, first in the Europa League, then Forest on the Sunday, Bournemouth away in the Cup, Luton away, Toulouse away again, and then Brentford, and then a massive game away at Manchester City, which has now been moved to that early kickoff on the 25th of November. It's a big game that we know how tight it's been at the top over the years. Those games can often be the difference. Like we saw with Arsenal a couple of weeks ago, we felt they passed a massive hurdle by beating Man City there. But before that game, Liverpool have got to do their job and stay within touching distance. And I think this is it's not going to be an easy game for us. I know they've drawn their last three, and I'm sure they'll be disappointed, not only with the result against Luton, but like you said, the manner in which it came about, conceding 2 goals late. I know they fell down the table a little bit with those 3 draws in the last 3 games, but I just think there's too much quality in that Forest side, isn't there? I think we're both back them to stay up fairly comfortably in the long run. But I'm looking at their next couple of games. There aren't some easy games in there. They got Villa at home, West Ham away, and Brighton at home in the next 3 good sides there. It'll be interesting to see if they can take anything from that. And then they host Everton, Fulham away, Wolves away, a couple of sides there, and Fulham and Wolves. So I think will be in and around Forest in that mid-table cluster. Like I said, I don't see Liverpool running away with this one on Sunday. I'm going to go back the home win. Of course, I'm going to go 2-0 Liverpool. But yeah, I think it'll be a relatively tight game. What are you thinking, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, I am going to go with the same scoreline because I did have that in my mind before you said it. I think we've both got the exact same mindset there, where it's hard to look past a Liverpool win, but with the organisation that Nottingham Forest have under Steve Cooper, it's hard to see Liverpool running away with it. So, yeah, I think for that one, I think we're going to go both the same, 2-0. And I think whatever happens, at least you aren't going to pull away from me with that result.
No, that's it. You're safe on that one. On to the other 2 o'clock kickoffs on Sunday. We've seen our Aston Villa hosting Luton at Villa Park. We mentioned earlier what they did to West Ham last time out at home. Villa did the same to Brighton, Everton as well. Handed out some batterings at home so far this season, hosting a struggling Luton side who will be buoyed, I imagine, by that point at Forest last time out. Do you want to talk us through the odds before we get into the game?
Yeah, Aston Villa, huge favourites at home against Luton. Aston Villa have just been scintillating once more. So ever since Unai Emery took over from Steven Gerrard, it's just been flying high virtually, and there's been nothing really bad to speak of. Sitting in 5th at the moment. I don't know when Aston Villa start thinking of Champions League. Don't forget, 5 places this season are all likelihood to get in the Champions League places. So, it's certain that, they're going to get European football again under Unai Emery. But, yeah, they've just been fantastic. And if you look at the wins as well, I mean, some of them are hammerings. I mean, last time out, 4-1 against West Ham, who had a good season. A few games ago, 6-1 against Brighton, which, I mean, nobody could have predicted that. It was a point before the West Ham game against Wolves away, but, we've spoken about how Wolves have been doing this season. So, I think Ollie Watkins has just been amazing this season. And yeah, Unai Emery is just, I think, the perfect manager for them, especially now that they're in Europe. It's not like they've got a manager who's, a good Premier League manager, but not really got too much experience in Europe. Unai Emery knows better than virtually any manager how to manage that European football with domestic football. So, yeah. There's just absolutely nothing for them to be worried about. Scored 23 goals as well this season. Only Newcastle have scored more. Newcastle had that 8-0 victory in there. And I guess a side like Luton, to be fair, they've been a little bit better than what I thought this season because they're outside of the relegation zone. We'll scroll down there. They're in 17th place, I think. So they're a point above that. They got a point last time out against Luton. They only lost 1-0 to Tottenham, whereas they really should have got more because they had some really glorious chances in that game. And they beat Everton at Goodison Park as well. So there's been some decent performances. I think as the season goes on, I think Luton will start to settle. They'll get more experience as well in the league. So whereas I put my hand up, I really did write Luton off at the start of the season, but they really are giving themselves a chance. I don't think this is going to be a game where they're going to add to the points tally though, purely because of how good Aston Villa and Unai Emery are. They're playing in Europe again tonight, but like I said, I don't think that Thursday to Sunday is going to be an issue. Unai knows how to manage that perfectly, so it's hard to look past an Aston Villa victory, even though the 2-7. Maybe probably something like that. Maybe you want to be looking at Aston Villa over 2.5 goals because you got to get decent odds in that. And I just think with the way Aston Villa, especially at home, are performing, they can just score goals for fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Ollie Watkins has been on fire, hasn't he, so far this season for Aston Villa, scoring a goal for England as well in the international break. I think the positive for Luton with a goal picked up, by, I think, what's his name? Carlton Morris has got a couple of goals this season. I think Adebayo as well got on the score sheet last time out away to Forest. They're going to need those two to fire, I think, if they're going to have any chance of staying up. You've mentioned that they're 17th in the table. I think they snatch your hand off if you offer them that now at the end of the season. But I think we're both going to go for a Villa win. I'm going to go for a 4-1 home win for Aston Villa. I'm going to back Luton to get one. But yeah, ultimately, I think Villa will be too much. Connor, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking pretty similar, to be honest. But I think Aston Villa will shut Luton out. So I'm going to go with 4-0. Aston Villa just flying high. And I think if they are going to come unstuck in the league, I think it's going to come sort of later on when they start maybe thinking about Champions League football. And I mean, listen, if it's Europa League again, then you got to give huge credit to Unai Emery. But the fact that we're putting Aston Villa as of right, I mean, what we're in now, October, we're putting Aston Villa in that potential conversation for Champions League football. 12 months ago, when it was Steven Gerrard, we was looking at them going down. It's just amazing, isn't it, what 12 months can do? And I think for the teams actually who are in a bit of a difficult situation at the bottom of the table, you look at Aston Villa and just think how differently things can change. Like, a bit like different scale, but what we're seeing at Wolves at the moment as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And on to the final 2:00 game on Sunday. We're going to get through these quickly, Connor, because I know you need to get off soon. Brighton hosting Fulham down on the Amex. Brighton again, like Villa, West Ham, Newcastle. We've spoken about how well they've been doing in recent weeks. Obviously, in the league, they've had a bit of a bad run recently. They've not won in their last 3, losing 6-1 to away to Villa. I say a bad run, that's harsh. To be fair, they played Liverpool and Man City. They got a point at home to Liverpool and then obviously lose away to City 2-1. It's hardly the most unforgiving result, is it? And Fulham, I think we agree, are going to be in that little cluster. I don't see them going down, but I don't see them threatening the top half too much, losing at home to Tottenham on Monday. Do you want to talk us through the odds, Connor, and we'll race through the game quickly? Because I know, like I said, you've got to get off.
Yeah, Brighton kick off as favourites, but Brighton still having a really good season despite that slight dip in form, sitting in 7th place there, just above Manchester United. I think with Fulham, I think it's hard to get motivated for anything because they know they're not going to go down. They know that they're probably not going to get European football. So it is going to be around that sort of 13th to 9th sort of fight for them. But yeah, even if you look sort of beyond the Premier League with Brighton, they've not won in the last 5 now. I mean, lost 1-0 to Chelsea, 6-1 to Aston Villa, 2-2 to Marseille away. But to be fair, that was a hard place to go to, and they came back from 2-0 down in that. A credible result against Liverpool 2-2, but then a narrow defeat last time out to Manchester City. So they have faced some really difficult teams there, to be fair. But I think Brighton fans, I just think they were, especially with the start of the season as well, they would have wanted to kick on. But this is a good game for them to get back to winning ways. I don't think Fulham have huge motivation in terms of the targets for the season. I don't think they're playing, fantastic. I think they're playing okay. Obviously, they've lost their star man in Alexander Mitrovic, but yeah, they're playing okay. But Brighton, even though they have struggled a bit, I do expect them to go back to winning ways here and get 3 points on the board. And I think if they can get back into Europe again, no matter what competition that is, that would be a really, really good season.
Yeah, definitely. Some big injuries as well for Brighton ruled out. Estepinian, Lamptey, Solly March, Moda and Welbeck are all ruled out. A couple for Fulham as well, Adama Traore, Tete, Diop, Bender Rabiot are also all ruled out. So a couple of injuries for both sides. But yeah, I think we're both going to back the Brighton win. I'm going to go for a 3-1 home win for Brighton, get back to winning ways in the Premier League. I think they're playing tonight, aren't they, as well? In the Europa League against Ajax at home. Is a massive game for them. It's probably one of the hardest games in the group. So
we say that Ajax has been really, really bad, and there's a lot of happening off the pitch as well in terms of a lot happening with the board, fan discontent. There's been games suspended mid-match as well. It's going to be an interesting. It'll be a fiery atmosphere, which I'm not sure how if that will affect Brighton, but it will affect Ajax as well. It's not comfortable for them at the moment.
Yeah, we'll go 3-1 Brighton then against Fulham quickly. Connor, do you want to give your prediction? Then we get into the final.
Yeah, I'm not copying, but I did have it in my mind. 3-1 Brighton. I expect them to get back to winning ways. They have got quite a few injuries, which will affect them. But yeah, I think 3-1 action. Yeah, maybe today will take. No, I'm still going to go with 3-1. But yeah, like you said, Thursday to Sunday. I'm missing a few injuries, playing away in Europe as well. It could actually be difficult for them, Maybe 90-5 is not as bad as I thought for a draw because there could be a bit of fatigue there. But yeah, I am still going to go with 3-1. I did say they'll get back to winning ways, so I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah, and finally the final game on the Sunday. It's the biggest game of the weekend, the Manchester derby at Old Trafford. Man United hosting Manchester City. Do you want to talk us through the odds, Connor, and then we'll talk about the recent form in the game?
Yes, again, it's a really hard one because I know it's cliche and we've said this before, but form can go out the window in derbies, especially in this fixture, it seems, because Manchester United at Old Trafford against City, despite sort of where the two teams have been over the past few years, it's fairly decent. Last season in January, Manchester United beat them 2-1. Manchester United sitting there in 8th. Now, it doesn't really tell the whole story now because they have won the past 2 games in the Premier League, but it was no, have they? Am I looking at the right thing? Yes, I am looking at the right thing. Last time out was 2-1 against Brentford, but it was 2 injury time goals to do that, which they are getting away with it. Last time out against Sheffield as well, a team right at the bottom, really in a bad place, and it was a Diego Dallo really, really good goal. I know it doesn't matter where the goals come from, but when you're playing teams at the bottom, you don't just want to get the 3 points. You need to put down the mark. You need to get that confidence flowing through you, and you need to put in good performances as well. I do think Erik ten Hag is getting away with it. Even last time out of the Champions League, at home against Copenhagen, and it took a very, very late penalty save by Onana. I think it was the last action. I think it was the very, very last thing. So, if you don't save that, then it's 1 point from a possible 9 points in the Champions League. So I do think Erik ten Hag is really, really getting away with it. They're in 8th position. I actually think that's pretty lofty looking at the performances that I've done this season. So even though I think form does go out the window, 7-10 for City, I don't think they've been fantastic this season. And I think, bizarrely, they are, by their standards, struggling for goals. 19 goals in 9 games. Very good, but I just think, especially recently as well, it was only 2-1 against Brighton. Obviously, they didn't score against Arsenal when they lost that game. So, yeah, I think that would be a little bit of a worry. They are missing Kevin De Bruyne. But, yeah, I don't like... I can never back Manchester United. I'm certainly not going to do it against a team like Manchester City. So I think with 7-10, it's going to boost your accuracy up quite a lot. That's what I'm going to go with. And if Højlund blanks one more time, it's Mr. 007 for Højlund.
United fans aren't going to like that. It's normally me dropping those in there for them. I think it's been a good week for someone at Man United, and it's Harry Maguire. He got man of the match, didn't he, at Sheffield United, then gets the winner at home against Copenhagen midweek in the Champions League. A little put my feelings away as a Liverpool fan. I'm delighted for him, to be honest with you. He's had a horrible couple of years. Yeah, and I'm happy to see that because you could almost see it, and he was doing his post-match interview. He had the grin on his face. And you thought, fair play. You had a tough couple of years, man. If anyone deserves it, I think it's him. But like you said, I don't think you can look past City, can you? Here, I know we've said, you know, that there's been signs this season maybe, but ultimately I think they're levels above this United side, levels upon levels above them. Yeah, they obviously win 3-1 as well in midweek in the Champions League away at Young Boys. Sorry, I'm going to back a City win. I'm going to go. I think it'd be a fairly narrow game, but narrow scoreline. Sorry, but I think City will win. I'm going to go 2. I'm going to go 3-1 City. 3-1 City. Yeah.
Are you supporting Man United in this game?
I'm supporting no one. I'm just going to and just watch.
Yeah, I'm glad you went with 3-1 because I think it's going to be close as well. But because I wanted to go with 2-1, I didn't want to copy too many results. I do think Manchester United will get on the score sheet, but I do think they will play better than what they have done this season because they do tend to step up at Old Trafford in this Manchester derby, but I don't think I've ever backed against City to win a game this season. I think it's very, very difficult to do that considering the players that they have, whether they're playing good or not. They will miss Akanji, who got a second yellow card last time out. But, because they've got such a strong squad in depth that, if someone misses, they can bring someone in. So, I am going to go with a narrow victory because I think goals are a little bit of a problem for them. I think Old Trafford is a tough place to get them because Manchester United are difficult team to break down. That's code for saying that they're boring to watch. But I'm going to go with 2-1 Manchester City.
Yeah, it's a weird time as well. It's a 3:30 on Sunday afternoon, not 4:30. Straight. I don't know if that's because of the policing or whatever. They don't want to leave it.
It's 4:30 or 3. It's 4:30 in Germany. Yeah, stick your English time.
It'd be 4:30 for Connor. That concludes our preview of this weekend's round of fixtures. Like I mentioned at the start, we got our own head-to-head predictor. We'll see if Connor's able to claw it back this week or if I can extend that lead further. We'll see. Find out next week. Like I said, let us know how you get on in the comments. And talking about the comments I mentioned at the top of the video, the ongoing competition we've got at Football Now. Win a football shirt of your choice by subscribing to the channel and leaving a comment in this video, the videos we've done and the videos we will do until we hit 100 subscribers. You can follow us on Twitter at footballnow_1 where the decision will be announced. I think we're going to do, there's plans moving forward to do similar. Obviously, we're going to do our weekly previews, but also one-off videos like we did with the VAR a couple of weeks ago. Possibly a Gerrard Scholes Lampard debate will be in the works. We'll see if we can get a couple of people on for that. I think that'd be an interesting video. So stay tuned to the channel. Like I said, subscribe to stay up to date with what we're doing. And yeah, we will see you next week. See how everyone gets on with their predictions.